Okay. Hello, guys. Today, this session is all about creating automation from scratch, building a small framework which should be capable of doing many things. And there are some set of design aspects that we need to take care of uh, while thinking about creating any automation framework from scratch. So typically, if you open any, like example, take a word, and I'll explain the step-by-step parameters that we need to think about when we need to create any automation framework from scratch. So the scratch means we don't have anything at all, but the only thing that we have is we know the requirement, we know what kind of application that we need to do, we need to develop, so those kind of things. So put that as. So first and foremost thing is about introduction. So introduction is about I'm assuming that this particular set of session is for the people who know some basics. So I'm assuming that you know something in Java, you know what is JUnit, and you know what is TestNG, and you know what is Cucumber, and you know what is Selenium, and you know what is manual testing, and you know what is a test case. So these are the prerequisites I want for you to know. So I think hope you all know about these basics. So this is the basic things that you need to understand. Apart from that, see, whenever we think about starting automation from scratch, we should not actually think about frameworks, or we should not think about anything else, but we need to actually do a lot of analysis part of the framework. So automation framework is nothing but just a development project. And what are the things that you will be doing while the development project? The same applies when you are developing any automation framework, because this is as good as in any kind of development. So in a typical development, if it is waterfall model, we have SRS document, which is a requirement document for us to input what kind of application that we need to develop. So the same way, the analogy will be the same, but here instead of any requirement document, we actually have a test cases documents as our requirement document. Without anything, we can't really automate. The automation is nothing but a substitute for any kind of a testing methodology. It is not. It can't be completely replaced. It's just a substitute. It will make your things easier. I think you already know. So we should have a test case documentation, which is a bare minimum kind of um, requirement that we need to have. Otherwise, if somebody said no, we don't have that, at least we should have a regression pack, which is a part of your agile methodologies regression test suite. Also, if nothing is there, at least we should have some sanity pack, which consists of the major functionalities test cases and the other kind of tests, which include link checking, etc. We need to have at least that package for us to really go ahead. So I mean, if your company don't have anything at all, so in that case, I would definitely recommend you should have either any of these test case documents, or at least you should have some feature files to go and automate. If you don't have really nothing, you don't have anything else, then at least you go and create a small sanity pack, at least for your understanding that what kind of expectations or what kind of test cases that you need to automate. Because the biggest problem is, if you don't have anything, we don't know what tests that we need to automate. Also, because automation have a lot of constraints, like we can't automate any kind of dynamically changing um, applications, or we can't automate flash players. So flash player, I mean custom controls. So the I mean, and we can't really go and automate any kind of what called non GUI based applications like command prompt. We can't automate that. So this kind of thing we can't automate. So if we have that, it's very tough for us to really go and automate. That's the reason why you should have a proper scope defined of what kind of test cases that you need to automate. Also, if you have like thousand test cases, don't go really with 1,000 test cases. Define a scope of what is the test scope for you. So you need to have a little bit scope, because I think you already know, a test automation is nothing but a it's an evaluation process. It's an evaluation process, so you need to, it should be evolved, so you can't build everything at a day. So typically, from my point of view, at least if you take smoke test as initial phase 1, then you can start about, then you can think about phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, like that. Okay, so let us take that phase 1 is our automating the smoke test cases. Okay, so we put that in mind. The next thing that we do here is, so once we consider different parameters to while actually selecting the test cases. Constraints, this is constraints for selecting automation. Okay, so this is the thing. So once you have that, once you have a definite scope, so let us think that we are automating an it's evaluation process, and we are actually taking smoke test as our initial setup for our automation. So this is the thing that we need to do, which is more of a non-technical things before you actually jump into automation. Okay, makes sense. So next thing, so the next and foremost, the next thing that we need to think about is about now we have a definite scope of our test case. Example, if we have a example, let us take is any small application which will make more sense. So example, in this case, if we take a demo application like this, we have a free source e-com site. So let us think that we are automating the back-end part of an e-com website. So this website have a lot of functionalities, like creating a category, adding a product, and you can see the sales, you can add the orders, you can add users. So there are a lot of functionalities around this kind of application. So I will not go much deeper into this application, but moreover, for this kind of application, let us think that the scope is about uh, initially think that the scope is around creating some orders and creating some customers. So if you take two particular functionalities and think that while creating out the smoke pack for that, it is about going into order, creating an order, editing an order, and deleting an order. The same thing happens if you go to customers. You can select a customer, you can delete a customer, add a customer, which is a very basic thing. Apart from that, we make sure that when you're clicking on editing and thing, you not got any 404 or 505 errors. Okay, so those kind of very basic things that we need to, I'm thinking as a scope of my testing. Putting in that in mind, so what we need to think is, once we know that what kind of test that we need to do, obviously I'm assuming that we are all doing anything on the web applications. Okay, because we need to, basically the idea is to help the people who are learning Selenium to start from scratch. So yes, so from that point of view, once we have the test cases, the next thing that we need to discuss is about tools. So we need to decide upon what tools we need to use. So while discussing about what kind of tools that we need to use, the matter is very simple. We need to think what is the best option that we can do. Right now, if you take the option of tools, there are a lot of tools. So example, what kind of development IDE that we need to use. So there are two options here. We can use either Eclipse or you can use IntelliJ. IntelliJ Community Edition, because Ultimate Edition have this. Okay, or still you can use something like NetBeans. Okay, see, thing is, before that, before even IDE, we need to think about what kind of language that we need to use. Okay, so some people may like, so we can automate using Java, we can automate using C#, um, and we can automate using Ruby, whatever it is. Okay, because Selenium supports them, and also they are the major important programming languages. So we need to see, we need to think about what language that we need to use. So I mean, from my point of view, if you have Visual Studios, then go with C#, because it have a lot of good integration with things like Excel sheet and other kind of tools, TeamCity. So if you are good at Java, you are always welcome. You can go with Java, and it is open source. So I'm assuming that you are using some open source tools. In that case, select Java as your language, and then in that Java we have a lot of IDEs. So from my point of view, what IDE that we select is, let us think that we use IntelliJ Community Edition, which have a lot of plugins. I'll tell you what are the advantages for that. So coming into the next thing. Okay, so once we had identified the tool that we need to use, and we identified that the language that we need to use, then we need to think about what kind of unit testing framework we need to use. Okay, so again, what kind of a framework that you use depends upon your own preferences, but every unit testing framework have its own advantages and disadvantages. So JUnit is simple and best from my point of view, but TestNG is also good, but it is more of a getting an emailable reports and use it to manipulate some test cases in XML file. So it have a lot of advantages around that. And also I think we can use some data driven tests. We can create some data driven tests using TestNG. But from my point of view, because the more of now all the automation is done around Cucumber and everything, so and Cucumber is based on JUnit. So that point of view, I think JUnit is the best from my point of view, so that we can write our tests if we want in-page object model, and if you want to convert it into Cucumber, we can convert it. Again, no need to think about data driven or anything kind of thing. Okay, so because I have Cucumber in mind, that is the only reason why I am using JUnit as my tool. Okay, and that is user preference, whatever he want to use. All right, so there are a lot of unit testing framework tools. Apart from that, once we decide on what kind of unit testing framework that we are using, then we need to think about something like reports. So what kind of reporting mechanism that we want to use? So again, TestNG have reports, which are very emailable reports, which are good. But Cucumber also have a lot of reports. It have petty reports, petty HTML reports. It have JSON reports, which will help us to do something in Jenkins, and JUnit don't have reports. But because we may use Cucumber, that's the reason why we can use. Or in normally what happens in companies is they will have their own what you call self-designed reports, which is made with something. Otherwise, we have something like Log4j APIs, which will help us to properly diagnose and give the full list of reports at the end of the test. So which is more of an API kind of thing. So if you want to get some HTML reports, you need to use either of the above. And no, if you don't really care about that, if you're running in continuous integration, typically from continuous integration point of view, we really don't want to see a big report HTML file, but we see all the results in the continuous integration build log. So in that log we know that, and in that log it will count number of test cases and give the count of how many test cases passed or failed, because you are using either JUnit or Cucumber, and that particular Jenkins understands those number of tests. So no need to really worry much if you are using Cucumber. Okay, and you always have to have a lot of logging mechanism. In the worst case, if you don't have logging, at least JUnit have some kind of logging mechanism. It will provide. It will say that a session failed or a session, those kind of things. Okay. But really, from my point of view, the answer for us, as we are using Cucumber, I'm happy with Cucumber report. Okay. Yeah. Let us now think about uh, um, data. So we need to think about from where and what is the source for our data flow into our test cases. So typically you can get the data from database, and how you can get that from JDBC connection. You can have some database utils you can create, and you can get the data from database, which is a good, but not really all the tests will have that. Or you can have data sheets or Excel sheet to get the data, which is more of a data driven tests, and we can achieve that by TestNG. And else you can hard code data if you have scope of less. So right now, because if for my evaluation I will go with the hard coding the data, because I don't really care about much about where the data is coming from. Otherwise, many of the companies follow these properties files, where it will get the data, and each and every environment will have one properties file. So if it is UAT, we have UAT.properties, and if it is test.properties, if it is test properties, and if it is local, we have local.properties file. Okay, so the properties file is nothing but a file which have all the default data. You can put everything in a default data, and you can put in a name and value parameter, and you can call the data if you required. So you can put in any place. That again depends upon you. Okay, and also while creating data, there may be some places where you need to randomly generate the data. So in that case, you need to definitely go with random APIs. There are a lot of APIs. Random is an object. You can use that. Apart from that, from data flow point of view, Cucumber have examples which you can see give the data. Okay, or else if that is not the case, you can still get the data. So they're like data providers. So there is a lot of data APIs where you can get the data from external source. Okay, but that will be a heavyweight actually. Okay, so you can put some web services to get some random data. There are a lot of things that we can do in Java, so you can get the data from anywhere. Okay, but moreover, if you all the data should be reversible data, so which is very important. So because we are using regression and sanity test, all the data that we give, example, we create a user, then we need to delete the user after the test. So we should do a cleanup. The cleanup in the sense of all the data in the database, in database should be deleted, so that next time you enter the same user, you will not have any problem. Or if you are entering for the first time, you create data, then only you do. Don't really rely on some database to say that okay, username this person exists. So don't do that. The first thing is you create the data on the fly and then use that data, so that you will not have any conflict with the existing data. You should be very careful. All right. So apart from that, the other considerations that we need to think about while designing your automation framework is about your continuous integration server and your virtual machine. So where we want to run, is it Selenium Grid that you want to use, or are you using Jenkins or something like TeamCity? Typically that is where you, or it is cruise control. So like that, you need to think about what kind of continuous integration and virtual machine that you are using, because typically all the target is to put into continuous integration. So you need to think about that. Okay, but typically when you're thinking about that, From my point of view, I think Jenkins is a free source. I use Jenkins here. All right. So, but here we need to have a build tool which actually will help us to do everything. So because we are in a Java environment, we need to have a build tool like Ant or Maven. So which is very good, and Maven have its own advantages. So it can test, we can configure, so we can do cross browsing testing through Maven, and we can add dynamic dependencies. Okay, and we can run in continuous integration mode. So there are a lot of advantages with Maven. So from my point of view, I will go with Maven as my build tool. Okay. Apart from that, we also have to consider about the repository that we need to use. Okay, so there are a lot of repositories that we have in market. So we have something like SVN, Git, GitHub, and Bitbucket, or we have something called Mercurial. So there are a lot of tools. Okay, everything does the same. It will put the repository. So SVN is the place where it is best for me because it actually takes, or even Git will help, but you need to have your repository, and Git have a lot of advantages. So you can use SVN. So why we are using SVN here is because SVN is having a close relationship with IntelliJ. So IntelliJ have an inbuilt integration with SVN. The same happened with this one also. So IntelliJ have an inbuilt integration system with Maven. So that's the reason why we go with Maven. All right. And apart from that, we need to think about cross-browser testing. So if it's cross-browser testing, we need to think about what browsers it should support. If it is cross-browser, we need to have Selenium Grid configured properly, and we need to parameterize the browser at runtime. So we need to think about, these are the things that we need to think right now, because after that, after development, we should not think about all these kind of things. Okay. Apart from that, because we are using anything like we are using Selenium, we need to think about where we need to store the locators. So we need to think about how to load the locators. So the loading the locators we can do in either way, a lot of ways. We can either use the same properties files, or you can use a dedicated object repository.properties files, which is used in one of the big company like Ordnance Survey, and or else we can use Page Factory, which is more of a advanced technique, or else we can use Capybara. Okay, Capybara, which will help to provide your page object factory and all, which will help in the case of Ruby. Or you can, normally people will do this, they will hard code it. Okay, they will hard code the locators. So we need to think about where we need to keep. In my case, I will go with Page Factory. Okay, so Page Factory is very good to load our locators on the fly. Okay, so in this case, cross-browsing testing, I may use Selenium Grid, or you can use something like Sauce Lab to run your tests. Okay, so yes, yeah, okay, so something like this, we're very close to finish. So like that, we need to think about a lot of parameters while we are developing any framework. Okay, apart from that, there may be small bits and pieces you can always come and modify. Okay, so these are the inputs that we need to think about. So in that case, so if you think about all these things, let me save it somewhere. So we need to think about these aspects. So once, see, thing is, these are all the inputs. So okay, saving it. So these are all the inputs that we need to think about while we are thinking about creating an automation from scratch. Okay, so if somebody asks you, this is the things that you need to consider. In this, the star mark are the things that we had selected. We have a lot of options. We have example, we go to restaurant, we have Indian, we have Chinese, we have North Indian, South Indian, a lot of options, and we always take the best one that we want. Okay, it can be South Indian meal or something like that. All right. So yeah, once consider that, and then once you have this analysis part, we did a lot of analysis. We need to design our framework, which is more important. So while designing the framework, we need to, because we are using Maven, we need to decide what folder structure that we need to consider, and what is the class structure that we need to use, and what is the automation framework we need to decide. So till now we did not discuss about the automation framework. Okay, so typically from that point of view, automation framework point of view, we have a lot of frameworks like function driven, we have page object model, we have hybrid, we have Cucumber based model, and we have data driven, and we have keyword driven. Okay, nowadays nobody is using keyword driven. Okay, yeah. So see, thing is basically you can have an hybrid kind of a model. So you can have something like page object model and a Cucumber. So I can say that this is my mix of my framework, which is nothing but a hybrid. Okay, this is what I had used. Okay, so straight away I can use page object model and my Cucumber framework. Okay, so right now in this session, let me not talk much about page object model and those kind of things. There is a different session for that. So right now I will discuss how to create a basic framework and run a couple of tests. Okay, so we actually write the tests in JUnit right now. Okay, and Cucumber also, how to configure Cucumber and all. There's a different video for that. So let us take simple tests in JUnit. For that, things are very simple. So now we are in design part, we not implement. Okay, the coding part is a little bit later, maybe after 5 minutes. So typically what I would suggest is, because we are in IntelliJ, so you go to new project. There are different kind of projects. Basically we need to have the Maven background for us. So that's the reason why you select Maven project here and then give your name. So I'm putting a Scratch. Okay, Scratch framework. Okay, so I'm putting that, and yeah, if you do that, automatically it will ask what kind of archetype. So typically the same thing happen for Eclipse also. So we need to use a basic archetype. So you need to select the quick start, which is the basic framework, which have source folder, test folder, main folder, and your pom.xml. So I would suggest you go with this framework. Okay, it's not a framework, but it's more of a pre-build configuration that was given by Maven. Okay, let me select this. Okay, yeah, sorry, yeah, okay. So yeah, it is asking some details, and Maven home directory, need to make sure that you give your Maven home directory. So in that case, in this case, my home directory is downloads and Apache. Okay, so in my case, it is Apache 1 point something. Yeah, okay. So this is my Maven home folder, and choose it. And yeah, I think this is all automatically come. You can modify that if you want. So doing that, we get a new project which is created as a part of our framework. So this is the first thing that you need to do when you go to company once you're done with your analysis, and as a part of design you need to do, and make sure that you enable auto import, which is a very big feature of IntelliJ. Instead of Eclipse, so you have a lot of problem around that. So typically, if you see that you have pom.xml, and okay, so yeah, we have pom.xml, and that XML is straight away like this. I don't have anything with that. So you should have folders like yeah, this is what I'm looking for. We have a source folder, we have main and test. Okay, so the test will have all the tests and main. So delete this, whichever you have, which doesn't make any sense for us. Okay, so you create a new Java class. So typically, while part of a design, there's a minimum basic design that we have to do. We need to have a base test class, which is responsible of before and after, because we are using JUnit. So this particular class should be responsible for us to create the WebDriver object. So basically, you do this WebDriver. I'm putting in before, so I make it as static driver, which is very simple. Okay. Okay, so just declare it here, and because we don't have a Selenium library in that, it is asking us to provide the library. So we need to add a library here, add a dependency here. So I think that we can see we have one dependency, which is JUnit. Okay, so make it as, so we can add dependencies like this. You can add dependencies. I think, let me get this Maven. So yeah, from here we can do it. So dependencies, we can add dependencies, and we can search for dependencies. Okay, select on dependencies, and yeah, there is one option to actually okay, just a second. We need to add dependency on the fly. Download sources. No. We can add something on the fly. I'm looking for that. I think it is somewhere here. Evaluate. We should have something like add dependency as a part of Maven. Import show effective POM. I don't know. Okay, so yeah, I mean, that's fine. We can still go ahead and get two small things. One is, so we need to just copy paste the Maven file, Maven XMLs here. Okay, so for that purpose, you can simply go and download the XML file. So JUnit Maven dependency. Okay, so do that, and then here you will get the latest one always. And the same way you do the Selenium server. Okay, so we need to get more of a Selenium standalone server, because that have all the APIs in it. So this is the latest one. The JUnit is very simple. Go to your project and put it here. Okay, and you have some existing one. ignore about that. So take it that, so that your IntelliJ will take care of that. The same thing happens for your Maven Selenium. So now it is okay. So okay, so it is okay, let me download. So I mean, I want this. Okay, but I think it's coming as this. Okay, so where is this Maven? Yeah, okay, so we have Selenium standalone server. This is what I'm looking for. Selenium server, I think that should be fine. Okay, so yeah, that should be fine. So which will help us to get the Maven repositories in that. Okay, makes sense. So you download the sources and you can see that your things will get updated. So now JUnit came, and in a minute you will see that the WebDriver will come, because we did a auto import. You should be able to see your sources coming down. Okay, so we did Selenium. Yeah, okay, we got this. A lot of Selenium things. I mean, Selenium will get a lot of things, so don't worry about them. And yes, okay, so yeah, you can see that is there. All right, so yeah, now if we put so now it knows. Yeah, I think this is the way we need to add. Okay, I just forgot about that. Okay, so yeah, so what we are doing is just recollect what we are doing. WebDriver. So WebDriver is where? WebDriver common? No. Selenium standalone version. That's what I'm saying. Selenium server 2.35. Okay. Okay. So now somehow it know what we are doing. So okay. So if we do this for class, come on. Yeah, this is activate. That's what we need to do. You have something like standalone server, which should actually. Okay, so now the problem is with this. Okay, so it's not Firefox. See? Okay. So I think it's very silly, isn't it? Okay, so once that is done, so okay, so I will ask which one I need to use. Okay, so it is that's done. Okay, so
capital D.
yeah, capital, that is the only thing that we did, the problem that we did. Okay, so we have, and before class, because we are using, okay, the same thing applies, and we need to create something like, okay, so I think we need to create a static class because we are using that. So static method, okay, and we have only one WebDriver object, so we can make it as static. Cool. Okay, so yeah, driver dot quit, which will kill the object, and make sure that you open your, so this is the application that we will be talking to, which is this. Right now I'm hard coding it. We can give in the properties also, we can do that later. So once we have this window, okay, so it will maximize it, and it will quit. So the basic stuff will be done. So now what I would suggest is you create your own Java file for the actual tests. So we create something like smoke tests. Okay, so here I can create my test case. Okay, so you can use your, I mean, now thing is, so that is fine. So now we have something, but moreover now, because we actually came into the part of so we did the basic design. Okay, and for the design part there is some more thing that we need to use, because we are using page object model. So dynamically I will create some set of pages which will be helpful for us to write the code. For that purpose, what I will do is, because we are in log, so I create an object called login page, class called login page. Okay, I'll create on the fly, don't worry. And now login page dot login is the function that I will use, and example I'm using admin and password. Okay, so this all I'm just doing a design part of it. I'm not writing any code, any Selenium code. So what I will do is see, I can create a class called this, and where I want to create, make sure that you're creating that in the main folder. Okay,
I think you need to keep it like an email and password on that place where you wrote admin.
yeah, okay, just a minute. Okay, so yeah, let me remove this dependency. I think this is what creating some problem. Client drivers. Okay, yeah, so what happened is, yes, now this method is not there, so even you can create that method called login. Okay, so now that is done the same way. So now we'll login. So typically once you log in, you will get a home page. So I'm creating home page object is equal to this. So this is, so I'm getting this home page as a return value for that. So I create a class called home page. I'm putting in Maven, and I'm putting here. Okay, but moreover the return value of that is not this. So what I will do, again I'll take help of this. Okay, so the return page of this login page is so I will only give my home page object when the login is success. Okay, makes sense. So now if I do that, now you will not have problem. So now you got a home page once your login is success. So now what I will do from here, once I log in, so example I'm okay, so I think this is almost So what I can do is asset equals, I can ask from a home page, is user logged in. Okay, so if I do this, what will happen is, okay, so if I do this, what will happen is, I need to create a method for this. Okay, and I give as boolean. Okay, return as false, because by default I'll make it as false. So that way this method is true. Okay, makes sense. So that test case is over technically. Okay, so if we go to a little bit complex test case, okay, makes sense. So for that we have to log in, which is very perfect. We'll copy this. Okay, so what we can do is, for that after home page, instead of for login, what I will do, go to customer page. Okay, I'll do that, so that I get, and once you go to customer page, so we need to get a customer page is about. Okay, so once I do that, now I create this, which will return this. Let me create null, that's fine, but customer page is not yet created, so we'll create that customer page on the fly. This, okay, create class called customer page, and yes, okay, it's there. So now we have customer page. So once you are in customer page, I create something like customer page dot add. Okay, okay, with the default details. Make sense? Now I will do asset dot asset true. Okay, make sense? Okay, written value, and okay, that's it. Test is over. So now you have two test cases, but here the problem is, you have the test cases, you have done, so we are more of a getting a page object model. So slowly we design the page object model and thing. But one more thing that we need to use is, we need to get a reporter, because if you remember that I said that we use log4j, right, as a reporter. Because we're using Cucumber, we just need to get the log4j enabled, so that we can write whatever we are doing in a proper format. So for that, you need to again create add your log4j. So for log4j, just go and search in your Maven stuff here, log4j. Okay, so we have Apache log4j, which is perfect. Just use this and you can get some logging mechanism added to your stuff. Do this, you will get the logger back, and what APIs that we have in the logger is, so typically if you are here, just make sure that write something like this. So for every page you need to create a logger. So okay, log, okay, is equal to logger, and you need to create a class of this, so that know that where you are. Okay, not class. Do that, is very useful. And if we do that, what will happen, we'll get logger. Okay, so what we are doing right, so logger dot info. So we can add some info here. Okay, what I'm saying here, I am adding the consumer. Okay, so if you do this, and whatever you are doing, please add this. This is very important. So what? Okay, so verifying getting is okay. Like that, if you do is, what will happen at the when you run your test cases in Jenkins, you can see that your tests are running properly there. Okay, so right now what I will do is, because we have some, I will create, just to make sure that I'm running properly before I close this session. Let me create all dummies and create all truths. Okay, which is like a hack. Okay, even though I don't have any code, it will open the test, it will run the tests. Okay, so here also, okay, makes sense. Okay, so now what happens, if technically, if everything is fine, I should be able to run my whole tests. If I run it, I should open the browser, and you can see that there's some logging coming in. It will come after some time, and if you will be able to run. So once this is run, the final thing is you need to make sure that this is run as a part of Maven Maven build. Okay, for that we need to add a Maven plugin, Maven compiler plugin, which we will add for a moment. Okay, so yeah, both tests are passed. You can see that there is an info coming in. This is the reason why I said that we need to add the logging mechanism, and this will reflect there in your Jenkins. Okay, so finally the plugins. So what plugins that we need to add now is, I think compiler, it have that. So now if I can run my test just like this, if this is running here, that means that it is running as a part of command prompt. If the tests are running now, then they're running as a part of command prompt. That means that you can put that in continuous integration server. But right now it is not recognized in the test. The only reason is we don't have the compiler plugin. Okay, to get the compiler plugin, we need to go to pom.xml and see. Now we can't see any compiler plugin, so just search for Maven compiler. You can have a lot of compilers in the world. My spelling is very bad, so sorry. Maven compiler plugin, you can see that here. This are looking for. I'll take the latest version and plugin. Okay, so this is more of a plugin, right? So it's a dependency, and see, we can just directly get a code of Maven compiler plugin. Okay, and we need to get a code for that. Okay, so once in by minute will be able to, I think this is what I'm looking for. We can straight away get this plugin. So if we copy this plugin, okay, and put that plugin here somewhere, you can put anywhere, that doesn't make any sense. Okay, and also we need to make sure that now this should be part of build also, right? So we need to copy the complete thing. Sorry for that. So we need to have a build, and ignore this, ignore them. Okay, oh yeah, sorry. Okay, so once we generate the sources, okay, so we should not have any problem now. If we run the tests here, it should pick up the test. That's the only thing. Okay, yeah, I think once we do this, it may still get a problem, but we need to make sure that the test path is properly given. Okay, Okay, so I think we can do something like this. There is something like configuration that we can do. So is it running the tests? No. Okay, compilation failure, scratch framework. Okay, the only reason why is customer plugin. Oops. Does not exist. Why it is taking this? This is not my logger, isn't it? Apache login, right? Why it's coming? Okay, just a minute. There is some problem with this logger. Sorry. Okay, so yeah. Why? Yeah, this is what I want. Cool. Okay. Yeah, that's done. And we need to just give a path of where our Java classes are sitting, so that it know that. Okay, so you can see that it is, we need to do a little bit configuration of where the tests are coming. So configuration target source, I think this is what we need to add, or else we'll see what we need to add as a part of that. Clean install. Okay, just give me. Okay, just a minute, I'm just getting that code for running the tests. Okay, so it's nothing but a small, it's a configuration that we need to give. We need to ask, we need to show them where our tests are residing. Okay, I think this should be fine, I think. Okay, let us see if this is not running, or is there any other problem. What the solution for this problem? The solution for that problem is something else. Okay, so yeah, I think, is it, yeah, it's running. Annotations are not supported. Okay, oops, what tempered annotation that we did, why it is not supported? See, okay, annotations are not supported. Why? Okay, the reason why is I don't know, just a minute. What scope of the test? So we have, see, let's make sure that you remove this, and also make sure that you remove this. The scope should be always there. I think that should be the only problem. Language swaps, model testing. What's that? Set language level. Modular settings. What module settings I need to do now? Everything okay, right? Okay, it is creating a problem here. Annotations are not supported at this language level. Then what I need to do? Okay, so if I do this, I'm just running the Maven part of it. Okay, so yeah, we are almost done. If it is picking up, then we are almost ready to complete the basic framework. Okay, we're almost done. Yeah, we got the problem. Java task. Come on. There's some problem with this. Okay, so I mean, anyway, I'll fix that, but anyway, that is the point. We should be able to pick up the point. Now it is trying to run the test. It is somehow getting a problem, but at the nutshell, the point is that. Okay, makes sense. Yeah, JUnit 4.8. What it is? Yeah, that's it. That's it. All right. So yeah, that way you can see that you have some tests that will run. If you run on Maven, it should run. Everything should be fine. That way we actually start writing code. We did not write any WebDriver code, but it's a framework that we designed. Okay, and we get the reports and everything. Once it is running in Maven, the next thing that you simply do is you just configure your Maven, sorry, your Jenkins, and in Jenkins you can simply add the folder where you have form.xml. Where you will do it, that will do in Jenkins, but that's a different session. And I just want to show you that if you want to add the code, here we have a wonderful option. Here you can actually because we have a plugin called VCS, you can check out the version control. You can use your other subversion, and okay, and you can add into any of that. You can just put and you can add it. Okay, and check out and check in, you can do it simply. This is the plugin there, and you can see that there's a Maven plugin here. That way it will help. Okay, and okay, so that way your Eclipse, everything will help. So I will take one more session to complete the other part of this and go to the continuous integration. Okay, thank you very much for listening, and I'm stopping it.